First love yourself before anyone else. First love yourself by Trinisha Cottrell.
Hi, I'm Trinisha Cottrell, and this is First Love Yourself, the place where Christ meets self-love, self-care, and healing. So, if you're like me and you've been in a point in your life where you feel like you're always on the journey and it feels like, when am I going to get to the next level? And you start to get a little impatient. I know we don't like to pretend like we're impatient, but if you're that type of person, this is the video for you. So keep watching. Grab your pen, your blanket, and get comfortable because we are about to get into it. Less. Okay, so I've been in this phrase, like, me and God, sometimes we be beefing, and I know people don't like to say that, but sometimes I'll be ready to get to like where it is that God's taking me, and I'm like, God, I want to be there like today. And God's like, you're not ready yet. And I'm like, but I'm so ready. Like, look at how much I've grown. And God's like, no, you think you've grown, but wait till you get tested. And it's true, because when God starts testing you and people start getting a little like beside themselves, or you get beside yourself, or you get into a situation where you're so tested, you in traffic and a person in front of you slams on brakes, and then you forget that you were saved for a second, and you're like, I know they did not, because I got time today, but we don't have time for that. We got time for our purpose. We got time for destiny. We got time for kingdom work. We don't have time for any of the stuff that's deterring us or distracting us from our destiny, from the place that God is trying to take us in life. But sometimes it's so easy to get distracted because we want to get things before it's time. And so I came up with the acronym, by the grace of God, that's about being mad and just keep going. It's go is one acronym, it's mad is the other, because sometimes you can be so angry. Like, me and God have this like relationship where I will just be so mad, and I'll be like, God, why can't I be there? Like, sounding like a spoiled brat or something. And God's like, listen, you're not ready for this. I'm trying to tell you. And then God is so gracious and so good that He will sometimes give me the thing that I asked for prematurely, so that He can prove to me that I'm really not ready. Like, He will give me, maybe it may not be the relationship that I prayed for, maybe another relationship, and He'll test me in certain areas and be like, see, this is why I needed you to do additional training, because I'm not going to give you my son if you're not acting like my daughter. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes we forget that when we're praying for something, it's not just because God is torturing us. It's because He's trying to prepare us for the thing that He's positioned us. He's positioning us for the thing that's for part of our purpose. And so we will sit there and we would just go back and forth with God over and over again. God, I really could have had that CEO position, but you didn't have to give it to Sarah. And God's like, Sarah needed this position right now because her family's struggling. You don't need it. I got you covered in the season. So while I'm prepping you and while your bills are all paid, while you ain't got to stress about nothing because God's handling all of that, let me prepare you so you can be CEO of your own company. You're worried about XYZ company and you about to be CEO of your own company. Sometimes we can be so blinded by where we are right now that we forget that we're going somewhere. We forget that God just has us in the season right now. And Pastor Jerry Flower said something in his message last week. I don't know if it was last week's message, but this is when I watched the video. And it said, don't judge me by the season that you entered in on, or the chapter of my life that you see me in. And I was like, ooh, that is so good, because sometimes somebody can see you struggle in one season and think that you're just a struggler. But you were just going through a season. That struggling was strengthening you for the breakthrough. You didn't know that that breaking was building you up the whole time. And so sometimes people will see you and they'll see you at your worst moment. Like, a year or two ago, I went through a really bad like breakup, or whatever. I didn't really disclose a lot of information because I didn't want to share too much, and I really didn't want to be that person that puts everything online. But if I feel like my story, a testimony, something that I've been through can help someone else, then I will tell the story, because I know there's another woman, another man that may be struggling with the thing that I went through. And if, as soon as I make it through it and God shows me how to grow and heal from or learn from that lesson, then I try to apply it to these videos so that the person that's watching it can learn and grow and obtain a lesson from it as well. And so I was really so heartbroken, because in my mind, I really, really wanted it to work so bad. I wanted that to be the thing. I wanted this to be the person. I wanted this to be the experience that I had in life. I wanted this to be the job. I wanted my business to grow this way, not the way that God was taking it, but the way that I wanted it to go. And I really thought I had grown out of that. And for some reason, I still had selfishness in me. I wasn't completely selfish. I was selfless. I wasn't leading in love. I wasn't doing the things that God was intending for me to do because I was so focused on what I wanted for the future that I didn't think about what God wanted for my future. And God knows more. He knows way better than us for what He wants for our lives because He can see everything. He can see how we were in the past, how we are right now, and how we're going to be. He knows the person that we can grow into if we make it through the trials and continue to stay focused on Him. But when we keep deterring our focus and we start to think about the things that we want, we take our eyes off of God, and that's not the direction that He's bringing us to, or He's taking us in. And so I really wanted this thing so badly, and it didn't work out. And God told me from the beginning, this is not where it's at. Like, this isn't the person. This isn't the place for you to be growing your business in. This is not the time. There's going to be stuff that's going on in your life. Like, there was something that happened prior to that that I thought I had healed from. It was a loss, and I handled it so well in that season. I thought that I was fine. And so when I got into this relationship, I got into the relationship because I was still hurting from the loss in my life. And so I was thinking that I was good. And the whole time I was not healed. The whole time I was not where I needed to be. And God knew that. God knew that the facade was just a facade. He knew that eventually there were going to be some old wounds that would resurface or things that would come up. Because when you're tested, those things come back out of you. And so as God was showing me more and more of myself, I was thinking, oh, I got to figure it out. I've been down with God. I'm on fire for God. Like, I ain't never been this close to God in my life. I was never like running and chasing after God as much as I have been in the past, like 4 or 5 years. I don't know how long it's been now. I guess it's been like about 4 or 5 years. And ever since that moment, I really have had like peaks and valleys for real. Like, I thought my faith was like this. Like, I thought me and God was so tight, nobody could separate it. And I got a little cocky. And that's the thing that you don't want to do in a relationship, in a job, and in your faith. You never want to be so, like TG says, heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. You never want to pretend like you know so much information that when God tries to teach you a lesson, you think you know it all. So when He's trying to tell you, don't go into that building, don't go to this place, don't become a CEO yet, don't be in that relationship, and you feel like you know better than God, then you will walk yourself into a trap, walk right into a distraction because you feel like you know better. Never ever get cocky in your life. Always stay humble because you will get humbled real quick. The first shall be last and the last shall be first is a real thing. Like, God don't play about His people. And when you start acting like you really are prideful or that you know everything, you can't learn the lesson that God's trying to teach you. So when you get angry, usually you're angry because there's no movement in your life. You're thinking, I want to be at level 6, and God's like, no, you at level 2. You got to grow through this. You can't just be right there at it. So you're mad because you don't see movement, but God sees all the movement in your heart. Your heart posture is a lot better. Your attitude is better when you're in traffic. You're treating people better. You're leading with love instead of thinking about what's in it for you. You're starting to move differently, more Christ-like. That is how God tests you. We are looking at it as a worldly thing. Like, oh, only if I have this amount in my bank account am I leveling up. Only if I have this many subscribers am I leveling up. Only if I get this specific guy am I leveling up. When God already has everything that's grace for you, for your life. You're moving. You just can't see it yet. Just keep moving forward and staying focused on Him. The second thing is bad attitude. Ooh, when you got that same attitude and your heart posture is all wrong, God can't give you nothing. He got he got racks on stacks on packs of things for you. And the whole time you're holding yourself up because you're thinking, oh, well, God ain't going to do it anyways. Well, maybe I'm supposed to be the broke person. And that's all like things that we just say in our mind for no reason. Because God can do exceedingly and abundantly above anything that we could ever ask or think. God is is so good, and he is the owner of everything. So why would you ever feel like you want to put a cap on anything in your life when God can do everything? It's really our attitude that stops us from the blessing. We block in our own blessings by having a bad attitude, a stink attitude. When really, if you go at it with a good heart posture, if you keep your mind stayed on Him, if you stay focused, if you just think, well, this thing didn't work out well because God has something else great for me. Well, I'm not a millionaire in my business yet because I'm going to be a billionaire in December 31st, 2025. And I'm so grateful and thankful for everything that God has already done. When you start going at it with that heart posture, God can't help but bless you. And it's not about the things, it's about you changing the way that you think, the way that your heart is set up. It's about you treating people with kindness and dignity, and looking at their value and character, and making sure that you present yourself as a Christ-like person. The last thing in being mad is you got this what TG calls the spirit of beg to differ. Like, you just want to disagree with everything. You don't have no seeking, no understanding. You just like, no, it's this way. This person meant it like this because this is how they feel. It's all in your head. You thinking the person don't like you, and the whole time they going through a whole loss in their life. The whole time they just went through a breakup. The whole time they didn't get that business deal that they wanted, or they're struggling financially, and you think it's about you. Everything is not about us. Like, sometimes people are just going through something specific in their own journey, and it has absolutely nothing to do with us. So how do we combat the spirit of beg to differ? We seek to understand the person. We go out and we try to figure out how we can help people through the kindness of our own heart. Like, what is it that we can do to make a change in this world so that things won't be exactly the way that they are? What are you here for? If you don't know, spend time with God and really be in your word, and God will show you real soon what your purpose is. You really have to go at it like, how can I try to understand what this person is going through? When your friend is mad and you're like, oh, she got a lot of attitude, I got time today, really think, my friend loves me and she cares about me. What is going on in her life? I really have to be there for her in this moment. You don't just let people talk to you any kind of way. I have to make that point clear. It's not an excuse for somebody to talk to you like you're a piece of trash. It's for you to seek to understand what they're going through. Let them know, like, no, don't talk to me like that. And also, what's going on in your life, because this isn't you. And really soften your heart to try to understand what they're going through so that you can really handle the situation the right way. Don't just write them off. I know everybody wants you to cut people off, but really, you got a 15-year friendship and you know that this is not their true character. They are really suffering or going through something. Be there for that person the way that you would want them to be there for you. Give them the same grace that you would want to have in a situation like that, because you don't handle every situation the right way either. And there are two things that will help you keep going. One thing is to gain perspective. When you go out and you're like, okay, I'm going to figure out what's going on with my friend because I really want to be there for them in this moment, then you start to gain a whole nother perspective on the situation. They tell you about the things that they're going through. You start to see the reason why they might have been upset. And maybe they were never upset with you in the first place. They just were so frustrated with the life that that's just how it came out. And maybe they will work on communication skills in the future so that you guys could talk about these things so you can actually help them and they can help you. When you really seek to understand, it allows you to be there for people in ways that you never imagined. Instead of, because in our head, sometimes we really be like, oh, it's something I did. Oh, they really think that I'm just going to be quiet and they just going to do whatever they want. And the whole time they're really going through a situation. Like, it's not about us. Really take a moment and think, did I really do anything to offend this person? If the answer is no, it's not about you. Do I really know this person? If the answer is no, it's not about you. And then, did you do something offensive? And if the answer is yes, can you be compassionate enough and soften your heart enough to really figure out how to resolve this issue? Problem solved. The last thing is overcome adversity. Sometimes we give up and we get so mad in the journey because we feel like we're just going to stop. Maybe if I just don't go after that dream, then I won't have to fight this hard. Maybe if I don't really want to be in a marriage one day to my kingdom spouse, then I could just never be with anybody and just be, I'm good by myself. I'll just be by myself. And the whole time, God is like, no, I created you to be in a kingdom marriage so people could see what an example of being in a Christ-like kingdom relationship is like. Like, God is not gonna tell you he wants you to be or do something if he's not gonna equip you for the journey, equip you for the destiny, the purpose that he placed on your life. God is always going to give you everything that you need so that you can be everything that he created you to be. You will never. Somebody might be a better speaker than you, but if God said you're gonna speak, you're gonna be like Moses and lose your speech impediment or whatever other kind of speaking inadequacies that he had. Whatever it is that God placed on your life for you to do in purpose, he will equip you with. He will always qualify the called. Always. So don't ever give up on yourself. There's a word that I heard today that I thought really would be impactful, but not a lot of people are going to know what it means, but I'm going to say it anyways. And it's cognitive reframing. That's just reframing your mind to think of better things. So instead of thinking of all the ways that you failed or when you took a loss or something didn't go the way that you wanted, really think of how you can learn from it, how you could take that failure and let it be a stepping stone for your future, for a victory, like Zig Ziglar says. Really figure out how you can keep going, because no matter what happens in your life, you have to keep going. You're gonna, if God gives you grace and mercy to be alive another day, then that's another opportunity for you to keep going, to do something different with your business, to do something different in your life, to learn new skills, to be a better person. You still have an opportunity. You cannot give up. You have too much inside of you. God placed this purpose inside of you, so you have to go after it. I don't care if it's only one person watching the video or 20 million. The one person that's watching it, God will leave the 99 to go back for the one. You have to keep going. There is something that you're supposed to be doing in your life, and you cannot give up. You have to have the cognitive reframing. You have to change your mindset. It's no longer, I can't do this. Oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's gonna be a I can and I will, because I'm more precious than rubies. I mean more to God than gold. I'm more important than many sparrows. I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above only and not beneath. It is, you are everything that God created you to be. No matter what anybody else says, they are not more powerful than God. I don't care what we out here saying in this world. I know for a fact that nothing is more powerful than God. And if God created you and you still have breath in your lungs, you better get up and go. Keep going. You cannot give up. You have come way too far. You didn't make it through that dusty, crusty relationship to be here trying to give up right now. You really didn't. God obviously gave you another opportunity because you got it in you. They don't know yet, but you know, and God knows. So keep going, because you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. Believe that. Remember that God loves you, and remember to love yourself. Bye.